Is Def Leppard that great of a band, or are they a Mutt Lang creation?
When Steve Clark died, they lost more than a bandmate. They lost a lot of their sound and what made him great.
Well,
Right.
motherfucker, my favorite song of all time, I've decided in the last 10 years, is Def Leppard Animal.
They could have said, hey, we love you, and you'll always be part of the band, but we aren't going to have a one-armed drummer.
Yeah, there's some kind of like new school world AOR gems on that thing.
I think Def Leppard came close to inventing rap rock.
I don't think Pyromania and Hysteria have a bad song between them.
Of course the verse has guitars. And I went and played it, and I'm like, wait a minute. Fucking verses don't have any guitars.
Like, hey, if I love it, then I can buy it. If I didn't love it, no harm, no foul, I didn't need to own it.
Besides being gay for Mike Tramp from White Lion, that you might also be a little bit gay for Joe Elliott.
I'm gay for his killer 88 mullet.
I think I'm still shocked at how fucking cheesy the lyrics were on Adrenalize.
I think they have some modern stuff that we shouldn't ignore.
Make that smaller, like Ryan's penis. Make this bigger, like Mariah's boobs. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna piss.
You don't know what you got till it's gone.
Ryan, I touched my penis. Hope you're not jealous. Fuck you, you asshole. That's a horrible thing to say.
The hair metal guru from Warren to Crew. The hair metal guru. Never forget Charlie too.
Welcome to the Hair Metal Guru. My name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. And today we are doing shit. This must be part 6 in the 10 Things I Think series. And today it's a big one. We are covering one of Ryan's favorite bands of all time. And I think Mariah's right up there too. We're talking about Def Leppard. So let's meet our mini roundtable, our little threesome, if you will. Ryan, welcome back to the show.
Thanks. I appreciate it. This is one of my favorite bands, so I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. And Mariah, who has been a regular on the channel for a while. We met on X. She knows more about hair metal than almost anybody. Mariah, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Def Leppard is one of my favorites. I think at one point it would have been top 5. It might be top 10, but it's regardless of where it is, it's up there. Great band and excited to talk about it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, I will put up your X accounts. Follow me on X at Hair Metal Guru. Check out my Facebook pages, Classic Rock Fargo, Hair Metal Guru, and like, subscribe. What the hell? Ring the bell if you want notifications. Anything you can do to support the channel, I genuinely appreciate it. So, I'm gonna fucking sneeze, and maybe I'll edit this out. Then again,
Don't do it.
I won't. Son of a bitch. Excuse me. Oh, I've had sneezes like crazy lately because I coach little kids all day and I probably get some sort of shit from them. Those goofy bastards are the best thing that ever happened to me. Anyway, just kidding. And
I have terrible allergies here, nowhere else, but Santa
Yeah.
Barbara, there's something here that just hates me.
Right. And I should never drink coffee at night. It's 10 o'clock here and I'm still drinking coffee. It's stupid. But it
Oh,
helps
you're not
me,
supposed to do that more than like 6 hours before you go to bed.
Oh, I know. Oh, you're totally right, and it fucks me up too. But I think it makes the videos maybe a little bit more entertaining, maybe a little bit worse. Who knows? Anyway, let's get into it. We're talking 10 things I think on Def Leppard, and I think we'll just go this. Ryan is to my left, and then I got myself, and then Mariah, and let's make that our rotation. So Ryan, what is your number 10 thing you think about Def Leppard?
Okay, thanks. So Joe Elliott, I think. Okay, let me restart this. Okay, Joe Elliott was my number 1 male vocalist of all time on an episode we did way back, and I think I stand by my choice because he's got it all to me. He looks the part, he sounds the part, he's got the perfect amount of rasp. He can do the sappy good shit, and he can do the intense high shit. And right in the middle with Hysteria and Love and Affection, I think he's got the perfect rock and roll voice.
Okay. And am I hearing that you're probably, besides being gay for Mike Tramp from White Lion, that you might also be a little bit gay for Joe Elliott?
I'm gay for his killer 88 mullet.
There you go. That's a hell of a mullet. It's a hell of a Okay.
No, it actually doesn't look half bad, which is hard to do with a mullet.
That's right. Okay. So you're sticking by your Joe Elliott best vocalist choice.
He
That's
doesn't get
right.
talked about enough, so that's fair one way or the other. I don't hear him mentioned in like great 80s vocalists. I don't see him talked about at all. I was gonna put this on my list, but I didn't. I don't even see him talked about that his voice is still great now, and they still sound great live, and he hasn't really lost much of a step. I don't really hear anything about that.
That's a valid point. You don't hear about him in like, oh man, who are the best vocalists of the decade? Like that, and that's
Well,
kind of unfair.
Or praise
some
for him at all. When you talk about Hysteria, people talk about the songs or the drummer or the guitarist or something. They don't talk about the vocalist. They don't talk about who you're hearing, and that's so weird to me.
Yeah.
yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay. My number 10. Okay, I basically shit on any Def Leppard after Hysteria, but I think I greatly underestimated at least two songs on the much maligned Slang album. The title track, Slang, isn't that far off from what you would have heard on a late 80s Def Leppard album. It's poppy, catchy, hard rock. Because I was listening, because I was like, at first I was kind of planning on, okay, I'm gonna have a I shit on Slang number, but I decided to change it from I shit on Slang to there's some good stuff on there. So I really like the title track, and then the song "Work It Out" is,
Oh, that's
I
good.
think, a great like emotional. It's mid-tempo. It's almost to me like a power pop song. Like you just get this straight ahead groovy guitar riff. I don't know. To me, that's power pop. Some people call it Cheap Trick power pop. It's not a ballad. It's not a heavy rock song. So while I'm still not a major fan of Slang, I think there are a couple really great moments on that album. And if you haven't listened to it, you should at least go check out those two songs.
Yeah, there's some kind of like new school world AOR gems on that thing because that was their experimental album and people shit on it all the time and they compare Generation Swine and Hollyweird and it's not that bad. I mean, it's way different, but like they're kind of worldy people,
Yeah.
They really as they got older, so it's not too bad. I don't go to it all the time, but I go to it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Generation Swine is bad. This is
Yeah.
not as great compared to their previous albums. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Generation Swine is in another level of shit.
Yeah, that's just
Slang,
bad. This
not
is
at
just
that
not as
level.
great compared to their previous albums, but it's not a terrible album. I don't think there might have been one song of Generation Swine that I added to my playlist, and that's not very much.
Right. Okay. Mariah, what's your number 10?
Yeah, my number 10, it's interesting you bring up later Def Leppard because I think that Paper Sun and Promises would have been big hits if they'd been released in 1989 instead of 1999 on Euphoria because they're great songs, they're catchy as hell, and they totally fit in with the type of music they were doing in the 80s.
I am going to have a little bit of something about that album, but when did that album come out again?
1999.
1999. And even though you're right, it would have been a major hit in the 80s, Promises was kind of a hit, and a surprise hit in 1999. But yeah, you put that shit
Yeah,
out
yeah, it was
in 88.
definitely something.
You put that shit out in 88 and it's all over the place. So I
Yeah,
completely.
and Paper Sun is the same thing. That the riff, the opening kind of intro to that is incredible, and that song is so catchy. It's so good, but it's 1999, and maybe it was a little people were coming around to that stuff a little bit more at the time, so it would have been bigger than if it had been released in like 95 or something like that, but
Right. Right.
still.
I got you. I got you. All right. That finishes our number 10s. Ryan, what's your number 9?
All right. I think In the Round in Your Face from the Hysteria tour at this point is my most watched and finest live moment, in my opinion. And it's performance perfection, set list perfection. They were at their peak popularity. I I love that video, and I'm so glad it's released on like the deluxe edition Hysteria now, so you could crank it audio as well. So I wore out the VHS, and I often go back to the videos on YouTube and whatnot.
Unbelievable concert.
Yes.
Amazing. And they had the money to put together that epic show. Like, holy balls. So
Yeah. Yeah. And you got the firsthand accounts from their peers. We've talked about it. I remember the Vivian Campbell interview before he was in Leopard. He was in Whitesnake, and they went to see the show. And he was like, these guys are using tapes. There's no fucking way they sound this good. And sure enough, it was all live. And being the obsessed fan I am, you can hear the difference from what would be a tape, to what they're actually doing live. And motherfucker, it's live. So
right
there you go.
I remember watching a VH1 Storytellers, I think, and Joe Elliott kind of addressed. He's like, some people say, that we aren't doing all of this, and I don't know. They sang some fucking a cappella thing, all singing together, and it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And so it was, and he kind of just stepped back and said, that's real,
Yeah.
The crowd was, and I was like, damn, I mean,
I know.
same shit.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. My number 9, I think I'm still shocked at how fucking cheesy the lyrics were on Adrenalize. I mean, this thing came out in 1992, and you see none of the lyrical growth that you saw on other bands at the time. Bands like Warrant and Skid Row were getting deeper and more introspective. Slave to the Grind came out in 91. Dog Eat Dog comes out in 1992. But Def Leppard got even more juvenile.
Yeah, they went the other way.
Than they were on fucking Hysteria. So on the one hand, I'm like, fuck, I kind of give them credit for saying, fuck it, we're going to do what we do. I'm like, that part of me salutes that. But hold on, I got to get Charlie. Did you freeze your boobies? Yeah, your boobies are cold. So I there's the part of me that says, hey, you were like, we're not fucking changing with the times. We're going to do what we do. But on the other hand, mow the lawn, walk the dog. Like, who the fuck thought that was a good idea? So,
Oh, you think that's a bad idea? There's worse on that album. There's
totally.
Make Love Like a Man and Personal Property and I Want to Touch You. Those are way worse.
Yes. And so
love those songs.
I love the music, totally, musically, but the lyrical direction was just a bad idea. And that album, the Hysteria album got 7 singles. It costs a lot of money to promote 7 singles, to make all those videos, to do all the promotion. And Adrenalize got 7 singles and only went triple platinum. So it just, obviously it didn't really work. A lot of people still like that album. Like I said, I love the way it sounds, but lyrically, damn. So I'm going to get into something else about that time period later. But it just, complete failure on the band's part to grow with the times.
Yeah,
I don't
there's
wanna-
only a handful of ones that are decent lyrically on there, even if I like them. There's Have You Ever Needed Someone So Bad? Heaven Is and Stand Up is pretty good, but yeah, it's interesting because, you were talking on the video last night about, or someone was, it wasn't you, we were talking about that, the late 90s was kind of like the whole I'm a loser and
Yep.
nothing's kind of going well and and some of these songs feel like they could have fit in more with that time as opposed to 1992 when it was grunge and everything, kind of sucked versus, I'm like a teenage dirtbag loser, whatever
Yes.
they had going on.
Yes. Yeah. Not a great time period.
I think they were thinking like, what would Mutt have done? What
Sure.
would Mutt have done over and over? And they probably come up with I Want to Touch Yous and Personal Properties and Heaven Is, which I love. But yes, I think that they should have gone more Dog Eat Dog / retroactive, at least fractionally,
Right.
than what they did. obviously.
Right.
Yeah, or just stuck with Hysteria. You didn't need to go more juvenile. If you're doing what you do
Yeah.
something on a similar level. You didn't
Yes.
need to throw in those like make love like a man. Come on.
Yes.
Come
I
on.
mean, there was
That
nothing
was a
on
really good
his.
idea.
There was nothing on Hysteria. I mean, even a song like Women, there was nothing that was, oh, Make Love Like a Man or Let's Get Rocked. I mean, Hysteria was like fucking reading War and Peace lyrically versus Adrenalize. So,
Yeah, Make Love Like a Man, I think would have been made fun of just as much in any year in the 80s. Like
sure.
that would have been a good idea then. It definitely wasn't
Totally.
in 92.
Totally. Okay. That was my number 9. Mariah, what's your number 9?
Yeah, my number 9 is I think Diamond Star Halos, their recent album, has one of the coolest album covers and has a lot of great songs. I'm wearing the album cover today. I really love the colors on that shirt, and I was like, oh, I gotta get this. And saw them live, saw some songs live. They were great, and I absolutely love that album cover, and they're not a band that's known for particularly great album covers all the time either. So that was pretty cool as well.
I really like the Hysteria cover. I
I
like
like the Paramania one quite a bit as well. I think that's cool. But
so
like Adrenalize, On Through the Nights, there's a
yeah, oh yeah.
couple other ones.
On
They're
Through the
just
Night
not.
sucked, that cover, but I mean it was 79. Ryan, I mean, and maybe you're gonna have something on it later. So, but she talked about Diamond Star Halos. Do you have an opinion on that?
I don't like it. I gave it a real fair shake. I was pretty excited. Yeah, I don't go to it. I was pretty let down.
Sure,
I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
that's awesome. We don't all
Now, except for
agree.
some of the country features, I think the songs would have been just as good, if not better, if they didn't have the country features. I didn't need that, but Angels, I thought was an incredible song off that, and it wasn't even a single.
Hmm. I'm gonna have to listen to that.
Yeah, me too.
I legitimately, I'm gonna get into something later, so I'll just leave it go. Okay, Ryan, what's your number 8?
Well, we don't plan this and we don't share our 10 things or our order, but my next one is I think the Hysteria album artwork is in my top 3 album covers of all time.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's a bold statement.
Oh,
Love it. Always loved it. Everything about that album is an 11 out of 10. So
Interesting.
well,
You have to tell us what your other two are. Now I'm curious. What are the other ones?
well, I gotta save it for the other episodes. Okay,
I
well, one
know.
of them for sure, and this is kind of a weird one. I love the Tiger Tails Berserk album cover.
Yep.
I think it's like the epitome of glam hard rock. So that's one of them, and then the other is probably Highway to Hell.
sure. Okay. I did a covers episode with Brian, and I can't remember if Hysteria made it or not, but if it didn't make it, it was in my honorables because I remember pulling out that CD and going, that is going somewhere in my list. So
Interesting. That's something I don't typically think about. I think about if I hate an album cover, if I like it, but like there's some awful album covers. Like the Appetite for Destruction one, great. The Poetic Justice one for Lillian Axe, I think that one's, ridiculous. And I love the album. I just
Yeah.
think the album artwork wasn't it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're on my number 8, right? Ryan just went.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think I owe Ryan big time for reminding me about a song off the Retroactive album called She's Too Tough. Holy shit. This is now one of my favorite Def Leppard songs of all time. And I have that CD, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about Retroactive later. But I hadn't listened to it for a while. I knew I loved it, but I just forgot that song. But we did a ranking of our favorite Def Leppard songs, and Ryan brought it up, and I was like, She's Too Tough. I'm like, I remember that. So I played it after that episode. Holy shit. How did that not make an album and get released as a single? Because I think it's a hit. I think it's one of the best Def Leppard songs of all time. It's everything you're looking for in hard rock Def Leppard. And so, Ryan, thank you for bringing that song back into my life.
All right. I'm glad I could help, man. That's a
Hell
good
yeah.
one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome song. Okay, Mariah, what's your number 8?
Yeah, my number eight is, and I think a lot of people agree with this, that when Steve Clark died, they lost more than a bandmate. They lost a lot of their sound and what made him great at the time, and that's a huge loss. That and like, Izzy Stradlin and all that members you don't think, because you're not hearing them. They're not Slash or Axl Rose or Joe Elliott or,
Yep.
Rick Allen, what you think of, but they're a crucial part of the sound, and they lost a lot. Not that they didn't make any good songs after he died, but they lost a lot when he passed.
I, I've said that before, and I feel like what makes Def Leppard great are those catchy, I don't know if they're simple or not, I don't play guitar, but those undeniable guitar riffs, not the solos, but just the simple part of the riff that you hear in a fuck photograph, that you hear all over Pyromania and Hysteria. And when Steve Clark left, it's just like you just didn't hear it as much. And you're right, you didn't hear it after Izzy Stradlin left GNR. I don't think you heard it as much with Tesla when Tommy, however you pronounce Skio or Skiach or whatever it is, like a great rhythm guitar player sets the guitar foundation for a song, and I've those are usually my favorite parts of the music of a song. So I'm right with you there.
Yeah, and I feel like it's something you don't know what you got till it's gone, You don't realize how much of a part they play until they're not there.
Amen. Amen.
Absolutely.
Okay, Ryan, what's your number 7?
I think the members of Def Leppard are genuine. They're friendly. There's a sense of brotherhood. They're still hungry for creating new music, and they're actually friends. You watch them play sports together, write songs together, hang out together. I had the opportunity to meet Phil Collin outside of a little club in Santa Cruz, where I'm from, Santa Cruz, California. And it was late at night, and he took a photo with me. He was kind. He was nice. I wish I could have talked to him for 3 hours, but I met him for a brief moment, and it was awesome. And it's really refreshing to see band members stick together and stay in that brotherhood.
Yeah, it's rare.
I'm gonna stay silent because I have something that will kind of connect to yours a little bit later.
Nice.
All
I
right.
agree though. I don't think I've ever heard a bad word about any of them. They're always very supportive. They're always talking about each other, excited for each other, promoting each other. Like, you watch them up there and they're smiling and laughing and they just look like they're having the time of their lives. And they're not doing this for any reason other than the fact that they want to and they love it and they love being around each other. And that's the best reason you can have. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's what you still
Yeah,
want.
and it's odd. I mean, it's odd to say like, oh, it's so nice to see, and it's so genuine and whatnot. It's like it's rare, but hey, bam, there it is.
Oh, there you go.
That's awesome. Hell
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
That was cool. Look, my twin brother.
Well, it makes everything so much more I don't know, like easy to support. Like before Motley Crue broke up, they always said Motley Crue can't exist without the four of us. We are a brotherhood. It's all for one, one for all. And then you find out later on that was a bunch of bullshit. They fucking hated Vince and booed
Yeah,
his ass and all this. So it's hard to buy Def Leppard on stage now because you still remember all those horrible things they were saying about each other. They were making fun of Vince's weight in interviews when John Corabi was in the band, and Vince's, said shit about those guys. But you've never heard Def Leppard shit on each other.
Mm-mm.
And they still yes, you're right. They still genuinely seem like, hey, like they're all in it together, and that just makes it that much easier to be a fan of Def Leppard.
totally.
It does. And not everyone's gonna get along. That's not the reality. You work with people or you do stuff with
Uh,
people or you end up with people you got along with at one point and then you're kind of stuck. So like sometimes it's hard to blame, if you don't get along with them, but it's even better, when they do, and you're like, hell yeah, this is what it's all about.
I started doing videos with Ryan, and I mean, I get sick of him, but I mean, I got to keep doing it because fucking, that's how we
I
make money.
know, I know. It's already there, It's like
Known
Brian his
commodity.
whole like tagline for his show, It's like, oh, I'm stuck with it.
Well,
Yeah. Yep.
I
Just
give
gotta
I
roll.
give Guru, I give him $50 to let me come on his show each time. So that's the secret.
I should pay him. I should pay
He's
him.
raising the rent on me too.
That's hey, you know what? Fucking inflation, man. But hopefully inflation will be lower in a little bit. Yeah.
Otherwise,
All right. I should probably edit that out, but I won't. Okay. Um, did Ryan just went, we're on my number
yeah,
7, right?
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think Def Leppard came close to inventing rap rock when they put
Oh yeah,
out Rock of Ages on Pyromania because well, first, the verses have no guitars. And I remember somebody talking about that, and I'm like, what? Of course the verse has guitars. And I went and played it. And I'm like, wait a minute. The fucking verses don't have any guitars. And
Oh,
Joe Elliott is basically rapping the lyrics. Rise up, gather round, rock this place to the ground. I mean, that sounds rapish. So during the verses, you just get drums, you get bass, and you get Joe Elliott spitting out fucking rhymes like he's Joe Dog Elliott. Uh,
yeah.
but it's a great fuck. It's one of my favorite. That's in my top 3 Def Leppard songs of all time.
mine too.
Totally. But it
Totally.
was kind of a new twist of how to do rock in 1983, and part of that's I'm sure the genius of fucking Mutt Lange, but you were just not hearing that long of a period with no guitars in a rock song. It was completely new, and so I kind of joke about it, but in a way, it does sound kind of rap rockish.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, think about Cinderella. If you don't like it, Back in Black, Pour Some Sugar on Me, Rock of Ages.
Pour some sugar
They
on
don't,
me.
they don't take a breath. They just all the way through, and it's like, when's this guy gonna breathe? And it's very cool and it's very impressive. And some rap artists have taken Back in Black and put it to rap music, and it's like, fuck, it works killer.
Another one that you didn't, and maybe you don't like the song. I loved it when it came out. Bad Medicine from
Oh
Bon
yeah.
Jovi.
Oh
Those
yeah.
lyrics. I mean, it's fucking. I remember sitting and going, "Okay, I'm gonna get through this whole thing."
I know.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, Guns
No,
N' Roses is a couple of them. Some of them, they just
oh
did
yeah,
it well. It's just part of the song, and it wasn't all the song, but it's some of the song, and it's pretty cool.
sure, absolutely. Mariah, what's your number 7?
My number 7 is that, and we kind of alluded to this a bit earlier. The Def Leppard is a great live band still. You can clearly tell they put in a lot of effort. It's a great show, from the visuals to how they dress to the shape that they've kept themselves in. Like, they're really looking to put out the best product on stage and do their best. And, I've seen them live a couple of times in a stadium that it wasn't really great to have a live band there just because of the way the stadium is constructed. But, they did great. They were so, so good live.
I think, and everyone knows they used to party their asses off back in the day, but they
Who didn't?
obviously, I mean, shit. Look at Phil Collin. They
Yeah.
obviously take care of themselves. They all look like they're in good shape. And I think when you look at the stadium tour, it's easy to see that everybody loved Poison, tons of energy. Everybody loved Def Leppard, sounded great. The one fucking thing that didn't really fit in there is Motley Crue. And I mean, Vince Neil seems like a nice guy, but he never took care of himself like Joe Elliott did.
Yeah.
So
No. No, and they dress well too. They've got
yeah,
cool outfits on. They're not just going on, not that there's anything wrong with a t-shirt and jeans, but they're dressing up and they're doing that. It's funny you bring up Motley Crue though, because I saw the stadium tour with my dad and my brother, and if you ask each of us what the best band was on that tour, all three of us will have a different answer. My brother is like, yeah, Motley Crue is the best. I was rocking out. I thought that was the best show. I'm like, I thought Def Leppard did the best. My dad's like, no, 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 Poison blew them all out of the water. They were by far the best. You know, we love all three bands, but it's funny when you ask because you have a different story. You know, and it could be in LA. You know, that's Motley Crue's home
Sure.
kind of place too. But it's kind of interesting.
I never saw the stadium tour, but I saw all three bands over the last number of years. And I like to me, Def Leppard probably has a more impressive catalog of music than Poison. But I just thought I think Bret Michaels does so much like in between the songs, as far as like being all right, getting everybody. So I was always impressed by that, like the stage presence. Def
He has
Leppard,
such stage presence.
totally. Def Leppard sounds amazing, but they're not running around going fucking a all right, blah blah, which you don't need to do, but just
No, you
Poison does
don't, but it's
that
cool. Brett Michaels has insane energy, and
totally,
people don't talk about he's one of the best at commanding a crowd.
totally.
Yeah.
He's insanely good at it. You can tell he's genuinely happy to be there and just wants to
Yep.
rock with everybody. And he's just like, from start to finish, he is interacting with the crowd. He's giving it his all, and that's so impressive to me.
I always felt like him, uh, Sebastian Bach and Janie Lane from the early days when you saw them, like, if you see them on YouTube, like, yes, they're singing but they command a crowd. I mean, they're funny, they're interacting with people, and it was so anyway.
Yeah, they look like they're genuinely grateful to be there too.
Oh,
Some people they get up there and it's like, you almost feel that they're grateful that that you're there and like, you should be grateful that we're here.
yeah,
And Poison, Brett Michaels always feels like he's the one that's grateful to be there.
totally, totally.
And that's pretty cool. Like he's
Yep.
here to see us rather than us just here to see him.
Yes, yes. All right, we are on to our number sixes. Ryan, kick us off.
All right. I think that She's Too Tough, Run Riot, Rock Rock Till You Drop, and the end of Armageddon is Joe Elliott's wheelhouse. No one touches him in that high register. He can live there. He doesn't vary. It's perfect live. It's perfect on record. And I love that high Joe Elliott shit.
All right, would I be like the end of Let It Go
Yep.
when he starts
Yeah.
going into that other register?
Yeah.
If that's what you're talking about, and I know those songs, but I'm trying to hear him in my head right now, and my head's spinning. But that
Yeah.
end, Let It Go, when you're like, okay, no, he's not gonna fucking. Oh yeah, he went this extra. I love that part. And I saw Def Leppard live in like 2000 or 2001, and they
Yeah.
played Let It Go, and I'm like, no way can he still do that shit, and he still did that shit, and it was amazing.
Yeah, there's a YouTube concert from the show I saw at the San Francisco Civic in 2001 or two. It was the X tour. And they opened with Let It Go. And yes, it must have been the same tour. And I was just like, whoa, he's going to fucking kill it. And he did it. And he sounded like he did in 1992. It was wonderful. So
Yeah.
I think about like the verse of Run Riot, and it's just like, whoa, what's he doing here? It's way up there, and he can maintain that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And those are great songs too. All of those are great songs.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So many more could have been a single off Hysteria, but they just didn't need them.
Yeah.
No, you could have made the whole album singles. They were all hits. That album is ridiculous. Like it would be a greatest hits if their other albums weren't so great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or at least some of them.
Yeah. Okay. I think it would have been, it's my number six. I think it would have been really interesting if the band had gone with John Sykes
Oh,
instead of Vivian Campbell when Steve Clark passed away. So if you don't know, he actually was in consideration. I don't know if he went in and like actually tried out, but if you're John Sykes, you probably don't need to try out. It was more like I think you went and hung out with him, see if we get along. So he actually ended up singing some background vocals on the Adrenalize album. Now, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about, what Mariah said about Steve Clark dying, and we just never heard the same thing afterwards. I'm not trying to shit on Vivian Campbell, um, but I'm just kind of unimpressed with most of what they did since Clark's death. I felt like those guitar riffs just weren't as catchy, and maybe that's due to production, maybe that's due to other reasons. So I'm not blaming Vivian, but Sykes is such an epic guitar player. Rest in peace. I can't help but wonder what would have happened if they had gone that route. And I just did a video on John Sykes, so go check that out. Kind of a tribute to him. Amazing guitar player. So that would have been an interesting fit, in my opinion.
Damn, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he's such a big personality. Probably a really good guy, but he was such a star. Like, I wonder if it would have, like, it would have been like when Joe Walsh joined the Eagles. People were like, "What the fuck,
Yeah.
Joe Walsh?" It's like, and then he like beefed him up, and I wonder if it would have been a similar situation. But yeah, great idea.
Yeah, you got a good point, Ryan. Vivian Campbell's not really like the all eyes on me kind of attention guy at all, and none of them are. So that just fits well because they all kind of want an equal share, and that's why some of those other bands don't work, is because someone wants to be the star. Joe Ellie didn't really seem to have lead singer syndrome so much as other ones that, hey, maybe that would have changed it, maybe that would have been negative, maybe it would have been great. It's kind of unfortunate, we don't have
Yeah.
like an alternate universe to see what it would have been like and if it would have worked.
That's a good point. When you see Def Leppard, like when you go see GNR, you're looking at Slash and you're looking at Axl. When you go see Poison, well, generally you're looking at Bret Michaels. But when you look at Def Leppard, or when you go see Def Leppard, it's not like, okay, there's the star of the band. I mean, obviously people focus on the vocalist, but it's like everybody's an equal part of that show.
Yeah, and they treat it like that, and that's the difference between, I think, Motley Crue and maybe why they don't get along. All of them want to be the star. All four of them, wanted to be, and Mick Mars maybe to a lesser extent, but still, they all wanted to be the star. So then it feels like they're all competing to be the star, and sometimes that makes it better, and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah.
Yeah, like when you
videos with Ryan and Brian, I mean, everybody's like, fucking look at me. Hold on. Let me do some shit. Yeah, I'm just kidding. All right. Okay. Fuck. Okay, that was me. We're on Mariah's number 6.
Yeah, my number 6 is that I think Rick Allen is one of the most impressive drummers because he only has one arm. I've seen them live, I see them play. I'm looking at him like that's super impressive, and kudos to the band for holding out for him and all that and waiting on Hysteria. Not many bands would do that. And that again kind of speaks to the brotherhood thing. Like his story with them and personally, but like in terms of Def Leppard is so impressive.
I think it was in the early 2000s, VH1 made a horrible fucking movie about Def Leppard. It sucked. They need their own movie now. Like Queen had Bohemian Rhapsody. They need a big budget because that band has been through everything and come out on the other side. I think a Def Leppard movie, you get the car crash and the losing of the arm, you get the death of Steve Clark. I think that would be a massive fucking hit. And, if I knew how to fucking make a movie, I would do it. But somebody should do that because it demands to be made.
It does.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Okay. We are on to our number 5s. Ryan, what do you got?
All right. I wish there was some pro shot footage from the Crocus Def Leppard 1983 stadium shows that would frickin' surface because they were out there and there's like nothing. There's some Def Leppard. There's like other 1983 Crocus things off the Headhunter tour. But dude, there's nothing pro shot officially released out there. And I know it's there.
I'm so with you. So I love watching old sports. You know, like I'll
Yeah.
sit on YouTube and watch basketball games from the 80s and 70s. And
Yeah.
you know, somebody was talking about like why weren't all these games that were televised in the 60s? How come they're gone? Well, nobody thought back in the day that, oh, hey, we'll want to watch these again at some point. So the stuff that they did record, they just trashed it. And that's
Yeah.
probably, you know, I imagine that they were recording some of that stuff, if anything, just to go, hey, band, you know, let's watch the film of the concert. Oh, we need to change that. We need to change this, blah, blah, blah. You know what? You know, oh, hey, you know, you can't run over there because there's going to be an explosion, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But they recorded it and then they probably just fucking trashed it. And
Yeah.
now, you know, now we learn later on that, damn, we wish we had, you know, all that shit. Now you could release it, you can make money on it. Because
Oh,
I'm right with you. I would love to see 83 footage of Def Leppard.
yeah. And at the time, you know, I'm equally Crocus obsessed, but at the time, the singer, Mark Storace and Joe Elliott, and the rest of those two bands, they were doing a lot of this. They've since made up, and that's great. But Storace says he was at his lyrical or his vocal peak on that tour, and that would have been so killer to see. And there is, like I said, footage out there of that tour of Crocus, and it is amazing. But to see it in a stadium would be awesome. And again, to the point you're saying about releasing that shit and making buttloads of money off of it, Motley should do that, and they should do it from each tour.
Yes.
Release a pro shot footage from each tour, and as they grow through the heyday, dude, they would make buckets of money even in the YouTube era.
Yeah. Yep.
Not that they need it.
Yeah.
Well, Mick might need it.
I did just watch there's like a 13-minute clip of Def Leppard live in 1983. You get like 3 or 4 songs. It's great, but damn, I mean, to see, like you said, a stadium, complete concert. Oh shit!
There is some stuff like there's a show from Germany, and it's a little longer, and it's cool, but it's in like it's in the inception of the Pyromania tour.
Yep. Okay, my number 5. Is that what we're on? Mm-hmm. My number 5. Okay, this is where I connect to what some of you guys have already said. I think you have to absolutely salute Def Leppard for their loyalty. Outside of Pete Willis having to leave the band, which was because he was severely addicted to alcohol, and I think Pete Willis has even said he had to leave, or he was either going to die or some bad shit was going to happen, his alcoholism. So that band has gone through so few changes and has stuck with members when other groups might have fucking bailed. The Rick Allen car crash. They could have said, hey, we love you and you'll always be part of the band, but we aren't going to have a one-armed drummer. You know, see you later. Hey, we'll pay you. Well, blah, blah, blah. They were like, no, take your time, figure out how to drum with one arm and come back to the band. Steve Clark, you know, they were trying to get him into treatment. They were like, take your time. They're writing Adrenalize. Do what you got to do. And a lot of, you know, some bands might have been like, fuck, you know, we got to strike while the iron's hot. So if you can't do it, we'll get somebody else. So I think that, and now since they got Vivian, they've had the same lineup for basically 35 years, which is very rare these days. And it speaks so well of the band and it makes me love them even more because of that.
Totally. And I almost want to retract it. I did an episode with Metal Mike a long time ago about metal conspiracies. And my theory is that they booted Pete Willis because he wasn't cute enough. And they got Phil. But, you know, I don't think Def Leppard's got it in him to be dicks like that. You know what I mean? And they probably were like, bro, you got to bail. And he was like, yeah, I'm fucked up. I got to bail.
So here,
they're not even mean to other bands. They're so nice to everybody. You know, on the stadium tour, they're speaking super highly of the guys on tour with them.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll throw this. Jason Reed from Canada was supposed to be on this video, but he works in like shit. I don't know, but he had to work. He had to work tonight, so he was texting me. He's like, "Oh, I'm so upset that he couldn't be on the video." But he's like, "Here's one of the ones that I was gonna have." So I'll give Jason credit for this. He said that when Steve Clark died, they should have brought back Pete Willis because Pete
Mm,
Willis, I think, had gotten sober and put out an album with a band called Roadhouse, which I don't
yeah.
have a lot of experience with, but that would have been an interesting, hey,
Yeah.
hey, he's gotten his shit together. But anyway, they went with Vivian Campbell, but that would have been an interesting one to consider.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, all right, Mariah, what's your number five?
Yeah, my number five is I think their most underrated song is Mirror Mirror off of High and Dry. That song is so catchy, so good, and it gets no love. I don't see even big Def Leppard fans love it. I just don't see much attention given to it at all, and it feels like it should be because it's one of their albums that's pretty universally loved by fans, even more than maybe Hysteria is. I don't see, anyone really disliking High and Dry.
No.
I think high and dry, when we did our Def Leppard album ranking, there would have been a time where Hysteria would have been number one, but now I did put High and Dry over Hysteria. So I think for a lot of people it has aged really well. So I completely hear what you're saying.
Yeah, we
Great.
also hear it. We also hear it a bit less too, so that could be
Yes.
part of it. It feels a little fresher because just about everything on Hysteria you can find on the radio. It's that big of an
Yes.
album. It's
Yes.
still my number one because I think it's undeniably great. Like, I don't feel like there's many groupings of 12 songs or however many it is that match that, but I get it.
Yeah,
Yep.
great song.
And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Hysteria later on. So we are done with the number fives. Ryan, what's your number four?
I think the jump from one album to the next, all the way from their debut, really up to Euphoria, was like meteoric between albums. And like, let me give you an example. Think the debut to High and Dry. They were almost a different band. Then you go High and Dry to Pyromania, and Pyromania set the tone for what 80s rock production standards were going to be, et cetera, et cetera. They just kept like these meteoric jumps, and they were like fully different bands on each album while maintaining the Def Leppard sound. And it really stood out from the debut to Adrenalize, but it did continue. So yeah, it's just so impressive how they improved each time.
Oh, sure. And I don't know if but yeah, I can, especially like when I look at the first album and then
Yeah.
what happened over the next, especially through Hysteria, and you can say
Yeah.
Adrenalize, but damn, I mean, it was completely insane what happened with that band.
And I don't mean improve like it hands down, like as they went up, the albums got better. I just mean like they improved as lyricists and musicians and
Sure.
production and whatnot. So I think they did improve, especially
Sure.
from the debut of Hysteria, obviously, but then that's probably the cap for most people.
Sure. Sure. Completely hear you. Okay. My number four. I think it hurts me to say this, but I really haven't gotten into much of anything since the 1999 Euphoria album. Promises was a big hit and it was a great song. We talked about that a little bit ago. Paper Sun, Back in Your Face, I really liked. That was kind of 70s influence, was really cool. They tried to regain their sound that made them one of the biggest bands in the world. But since then, I honestly can't tell you one song that I've loved after Euphoria. Diamond Star Halos, I liked the song Kick. It was really catchy, but I listened to it 2 or 3 times and I haven't played it since. I mean, it wasn't one of, like when you reintroduced me to She's Too Tough, I was playing the shit out of that,
Yeah.
and so I feel bad saying it, but I love Def Leppard, but for me, they've been underwhelming for a long time.
My next one might introduce you to some more then.
Okay.
Just like Shoes Too Tough.
Great. And I probably haven't listened to a lot of it, so that's probably on me. But generally I hear the singles and then I kind of decide, if I really love the first song or two that I hear, then I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna go out and buy that thing and listen to it. I just haven't been grabbed enough to go do that. So All right.
That's why
Mariah,
that's one of the nice things about Spotify and all those things is it's low commitment to listen to some albums that you're not sure if they're going to be good. And that's why I like them because I'm like, hey, if I love it, then I can buy it. If I didn't love it, no harm, no foul, I didn't need to own it.
Nice.
exactly. All right, we're on Mariah's number 4.
Yeah, my number 4 is a little bit related to your last one, and it's that I think they lost their way in the 2000s and they didn't really have a direction. They didn't know what they were doing. They kind of wanted to get some of it back, but I don't think they had any cohesive direction, and I think that really hurt them, and those are not strong albums from them. But I think in recent years, they made a bit of a comeback. I would say that Diamond Star Halos is, to me, their best since maybe Retroactive or something like that. You could throw some stuff of Euphoria in there. Euphoria maybe had the top songs to me, but as a whole, I think Diamond Star Halos was an improvement, and their self-titled, well, I'm not crazy about it, I don't revisit it a lot, was an improvement on their 2000s albums.
I
So
think. Oh, good.
I was gonna say, hey, maybe in a couple of years it gets more and more to what people want because they're headed on a good track. So it seems like they definitely have a bit more of a direction now, which is great to hear.
What was the album after Euphoria?
Was it X?
Yeah.
X is where I can't remember what the first single was, but that album, if I remember right, super poppy, slow, like you were getting no hard rock. That was officially where I kind of left Def Leppard. I may have bought like the self-titled album, but I feel bad saying it. That was kind of the end for me. I listened to a few songs and I was like, this sucks.
I feel like that's a pretty common thing, though. I feel like a lot of people will tell you, if they weren't big Def Leppard fans, if they were kind of like, just kind of the hits listeners, maybe they stopped just because they didn't care enough because they weren't hearing songs on the radio after Adrenalize. But I feel like for a lot of big Def Leppard fans, X is where they're like, yep, I'm out. Yeah, songs from the Sparkle Lounge. You don't hear anything about any of them, even from the band. I don't think anybody cares about that album, and then they took a couple years, 7 years. I think that's the longest they had between albums, and that was between Songs from the Sparkle Lounge and the self-titled. And, I think they needed that because I feel like even except for maybe a couple of super diehard fans, everyone was out at that point. That's not good if you're losing your own fan, all of your fan base. Because like Motley Crue '94 maybe lost some of it, but there was still enough. But if even the diehards aren't getting into it, you got a problem.
Yes, but I will say this, I'm glad they keep putting out albums. I keep hoping that they're going to put out an album and I'm going to go, "Wait a minute. What the fuck is this?" I keep hoping for that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and hey, as I said, I feel like they're on an upward trend and, maybe give some of Diamond Star Halos another listen. I think there's some really good deep tracks on that.
when we get done with it, you should do this. You should send me like, "Hey, three or four songs that you're like, "Hey, here's the shit that I think is legit." So,
Yeah, yeah, I'll definitely do that. And yeah, I'm never opposed to a band releasing albums.
hell,
Even if not everyone liked it, okay, you did it. At least you're putting in effort. You're still doing that. I'm never gonna be like, oh, new music again? Really?
talking to you, Poison
Yeah. And Guns N' Roses
and Guns N'
and several
Roses.
other bands. Come on.
Yes, and many other bands. Okay, we are down to our top 3. Ryan, what's your number 3?
Well, this fits in perfectly with what the last two you had. I think they have some modern stuff that we shouldn't ignore. My favorite and that tops my list of the more modern is a song called Four Letter Word off the X album. And that song is the only song on that album that harks back.
Okay.
And I love it. The other is Let's Go, Dangerous, and We Belong off the 2015 self-titled. Those are great. Mirrorball, the live one, had a song called Undefeated, which is cool. it's kind of like big foot stomping Queen song.
Sure.
And then songs from the Sparkle Lounge had that half country song Nine Lives with I think it was Tim McGraw.
Tim McGraw.
And I thought it was cool because it actually showed. I mean, I favor the hard rock guys, but I favored when Joe would come in. You didn't like it?
I right now I can't even hear it. I just remember Def Leppard and Tim McGraw. Fuck.
It was kind of cool to hear the difference because
Okay.
Tim McGraw would kind of like drone on, and then you get Elliott coming in, and I'm like, oh, that's my speed right there.
Sure.
You know, so I did like that. But yeah, that song Four Letter Word definitely tops my list of the more modern stuff because I could play that one all day, every day. I love that song.
Look, I know most bands say, look, I don't want to go out and try to write what I was doing back in the 80s. And me and Brian interviewed Steve Blaze from Lillian Axe, one of my favorite songwriters, and he said, I don't want to, don't ask me to go date a girl that I dated 20 years ago when I'm married right now, or however he said it. He said it really well. So but on the flip side, I look at, and here, let me promote your Metalcast project that you're doing with Metal Mike. I'm like, here, you guys aren't working with fucking producers and a big ass budget, and you guys are writing kick ass 80s influenced rock that I legitimately like. I like listening to your shit. And then I hear a lot of these bands that are coming out with new music, and I'm like, is it that fucking hard? I don't know. It just,
Well, thank you.
Okay, grow and do some, but hey, how about you give us 4 songs on an album that you're like, hey, let's give them a little bit of the old stuff, and then we'll do some new shit. Can't you do that at least? Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll try to listen to those songs because I'm sure I have listened to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if a
Very
band lost their way, it doesn't mean there weren't a couple good songs along the way. It just means the majority wasn't.
Right.
Okay. Are there other people in your lounge there, Mariah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. All right. My number 3. I feel bad that I've kind of shit on the Hysteria album a few times over the course of this channel's history. Basically, I've said before that I didn't think it aged well. However, I listened to it today, and you know what? Outside of Brian's favorite song, Love Bites, it's a great fucking album. All right? When it came out, there was a period of time where I would have said that my favorite band of all time was Def Leppard, and my favorite album of all time was Hysteria. And a lot of people would have fucking agreed with me. So Hysteria, I'm sorry for kind of putting you down because you went 80 billion times platinum and you deserve it because that album is a freaking monster.
It's crazy because I got into that album in like 95 or 6. You know what I mean? Like I was late to the party because of my age. I knew Def Leppard like the rest of the world. And I have older siblings who used to constantly play Hysteria.
Yep.
But as the years went on and I went from being like, oh, this is killer 80s shit. Like, I love it. Like, I'm going to get all the Def Leppard stuff, which I did, of course, to now, into my 40s, I'm still like listening to it, picking up more stuff from it, loving the deeper stuff, Gods of War, Run, Riot, Excitable, Love and Affection, shit like that, where I'm like, gosh, this shit never gets old. I think it's so ahead of its time. It's never going to get old. It's never going to age. And like when we talk about Def Leppard, it's like this bubble of, kind of pyromania and hysteria, but so much of my discussion revolves around Hysteria and the subsequent tour and what they did in that era, because it's so overwhelming to me. So, I mean, this album is, like I said, it's probably my favorite album of all time, even though AC/DC is my favorite band of all time. I can't not say that about this album.
We did last night, we recorded an episode, nine, 10 songs from the 90s that weren't hair metal that we loved. And we kind of got on like, hey, some of these bands that, like Hootie and the Blowfish, who blew up and there was just a backlash because they were so huge. Well, Def Leppard, I don't think really got that backlash, but they got so huge and you heard their shit all the time that it did become easy to be like, okay, I've had enough.
They're like the Kansas City Chiefs.
Like the Kansas City Chiefs. Like all that shit was on the radio. So we talked once before about songs that you got sick of, but then you let them go for a long time and got back into them. So
Yeah.
mine is Animal.
Oh yeah.
Playing Animal, and I'm like, like that's one of the catchiest, greatest songs in history. That is just a perfect rock song, Animal. And I haven't really given it a listen in forever because I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, I remember that. It was a major hit. Blah, I don't need to hear it again. And today I was like, hot damn. I got your feeling in my blood or whatever the lyric is. Like, hey, amazing.
Well, I think remember that when we did our Def Leppard thing, I was like making fun of myself for having a favorite song. And I'm like, that's like what a junior high kid does. Like, my favorite song is Def Leppard Animal. Well,
Right.
motherfucker, my favorite song of all time, I've decided in the last 10 years, is Def Leppard Animal. It has everything to me. It's the perfect melodic hard rock song.
Yep.
I guess
I
it's not
agree.
hard.
This is actually I got it.
Yeah.
I got
So,
it. I'm gonna piss.
You got to tinkle. I get it.
All right. So I just got back from going to the bathroom. Ryan, I touched my penis. Hope you're not jealous. And
me see.
Mariah, we are on to your number 3. What do you got?
yeah, so I was gonna say that I really like their YouTube channel, like all the behind the scenes, and they've got all the behind the scenes of all the concerts and them having fun and them hanging out, kind of like the day of the tour. And I just think it's really cool to see them having fun and all the behind the scenes stuff. Sometimes the other guys made an appearance on there, and those are just fun videos to watch. It's cool to see them on the stage and off the stage.
I think I've seen a couple of those. And I'll just make this point. I think a lot of bands are fucking up by not putting more shit on YouTube like that, by not being active on X. Cause I follow some of these accounts of hair metal bands or whatever on X, and some of them don't do shit. And I'm like, you could be promoting stuff, you could be interacting with people. Whenever, and I mean, my X account is getting better. Mariah's is like fucking 3 times as big as mine is. But if a band that I like interacts with me, even if they like something, like a comment or respond to something, I'm like, you know what? That immediately makes me feel closer to that band. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I am going to buy their new CD when it comes out. Because they're fucking,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
put out shit, record stuff, and give it to your fans and interact with your fans through video and social media. You might think
Yeah.
it's a pain in the ass, but you build a lot of goodwill doing that.
You do. People love it. Skid Row's always been good about that. They'd retweet stuff when I
Yeah.
talked about the gangs all here and all that. I'm like, man, this is awesome. This is great. It like makes your day. This is awesome. Do more stuff like this. I'm never gonna turn down more material, more anything. Like, no one's mad about that.
Um, I just shared on X. I had a framed ad of the debut Trickster album. I'm not the world's biggest Trickster fan. I like some songs, but I was like, I like that ad. I framed it. I shared it. Steve Brown fucking responds. He's like, really cool, man. Follows me on X now because of
That's
that.
awesome.
And like that I went from being like, whatever, to hey, that's really cool. Like now I'm gonna promote their shit. If they
Yeah, it makes you want to go
some-
listen to the band too. You're like,
Yes.
man, this band's awesome. I need to like
Yes.
put on a
Yeah.
CD or
totally.
vinyl, whatever.
Yeah, and maybe if they share something on X, I might retweet it now.
Yeah.
and get it to a lot more people than it would have before. So
Yeah,
whatever.
you feel more invested in it. Yeah, you're right.
Totally. Okay. That was Mariah's number 3. We are on to Ryan's number 2.
Crazy. I think Steve Brown should be the third guitarist in Def. No, I'm just joking. But he has filled in, and he's great. And by the way, that second Trickster album here, woof, scorcher. Love that album. Anyway,
Really?
I think for my number, yeah, it's great. I think it's way better than the first, which I really like as well. Okay. But I think the songs I Want to Be Your Hero, killer song, Paper Sun, and Me and My Wine are so ignored as well. And I'm not sure why I group these songs together since they're all from different eras, but they're like the forgotten Def Leppard songs that either should have been huge or were out at the wrong time or were a B-side. Like the song I Want to Be Your Hero, it was written for Hysteria. And they didn't use it, and it was released on Retroactive. It's a huge song.
Yep.
I mean, chorus-wise, it's amazing. It like, you know, I said it before, it could have been another band's crown jewel, and it was a B-side for Def Leppard. Paper Sun we talked about. Me and My Wine was that kind of afterthought after, you know, High and Dry. It was like an alternate on High and Dry. It came out, I think it came out as a video in '84 after Pyromania blew up. But it's great. And so these are like, I was just thinking about the ignored Def Leppard songs that could have and should have been classics. And those 3 really stood out to me.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. I have 0 disagreements on any of those songs.
All right. Okay. All right. My number 2. I think it's unreal that Retroactive and unreleased songs compilation that came out in fucking 1993 got to number 9 on the Billboard Top 200 and went platinum.
Nice.
And I'll add this. I think it's a better album than Adrenalize. She's Too Tough is better than anything on that album. You had 2 Steps Behind and Miss You in a Heartbeat as great ballads. I Want to Be Your Hero, Only After Dark, Action, some covers in there, and Ring of Fire, great rock songs. The lyrics are dramatically better than Adrenalize. So if I had to pick between the 2, Retroactive would be an easy choice in my book.
Did you say Fractured Love?
I didn't, but I should have. Fuck.
And that's another one where it's like,
Yes.
you know, the direction that they probably should. Yeah, they like probably should have taken that direction because that was like edgy. You know, Fractured Love and Desert Song were very different, but they were more along the lines of like a dog eat dog or a winger pull. Yes, I do think it's better than Adrenalize.
Yeah, I agree. It's better. It's a complete album.
And just, I mean, in 1993, a compilation album going platinum. I mean, it still
From
tells
a hair band? It wasn't a grunge band?
still tells you how fucking big Def Leppard were, even at that time, because that's insane.
Oh yeah. I think them, Bon Jovi, and Guns N' Roses, and a couple other ones were just always gonna survive.
Yep.
You know,
Right.
all that stuff.
That's
I
right.
feel like the electric version of 2 Steps Behind, it never registered with me because that's one of my favorite ballads ever.
Yeah. The
and I
acoustic
love-
version is that good.
Oh, it's so good. The electric version, I was like, I think you should never put this out again. Just go all acoustic, you know? But anyway, that's my thing.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Mariah, what's your number 2?
Yeah, my number 2 is that their most recent, well, one of their most recent releases, the Drastic Symphonies album. I didn't think that was going to be any good. I heard about that. I'm like, that's weird. That's unexpected. But I actually thought it was pretty good. You know, would I pick all those versions over the old versions? No. But there were some songs where I'm like, that little bit of like symphony in there was kind of a cool add. It made it a completely different song, and you know, I just think some of that was pretty cool. I was surprised. I wasn't expecting to like any of it.
I haven't
I don't
listened
like
to any of
Change.
that.
Yeah, I thought there was some good stuff. I don't like Change. I don't even like live versions sometimes because I like things exactly how I'm used to them.
Yes. I have
And
never been a live album guy. Like, if I hear it live, I want to see the concert. I want to watch the video. I never listen to live shit just to listen to it because I just keep thinking, well, fuck. The regular version was like this, and now you did that differently and pisses me off. So,
yeah, there's like an exception here or there where they add something cool or they
yep.
do something cool or they've got like a spoken word intro that I find entertaining or cool into the live stuff. But I don't know if there's a live song I'm gonna pick over a studio version just because that's how I'm used to it. That's
Yep.
how I like it. That's the definitive version. But some of this was cool. It was essentially the same song, but there'd be a little bit of orchestra. There'd be a little bit of something. I'm like, ah, that was cool. Gods of War was one that worked really well on it. Hysteria or Pour Some Sugar on Me, it didn't, but there were some that it was cool. So, anyways, I thought that was kind of a fun, unexpected thing they did.
Yeah, I kind of liked it too. One song that I can say that I prefer live over the studio version, and Guru, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, and you'll agree. Whole lot of Rosie.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
The Let There Be Rock version is like Bond doing the "Gonna Tell You a Story," like a Bob Dylan thing,
Yeah.
and then when he hits it live, you're like, oh, this.
There
is
we go.
So,
Totally.
Anyway, there's one.
Totally. Okay. I'm dying to hear your number ones. Ryan, what is your number one?
Okay, well, if you notice, I've kept it very positive this entire time. I think we actually all have. Like none of us shit on I feel a little bit bad about the Skid Row one because Sebastian's such a dick. I don't really care, but I felt a little bit bad that I was negative. Def Leppard are such quality humans, and it's such a good band. I really couldn't get negative. And this one isn't even really negative, but I think Women in Rocket were the low points of Hysteria. And now, in saying that, I still totally like the songs. Like I still play them and like them, but I just don't like them like I used to. And I don't like them as much as the other ones that I mentioned earlier: Run Riot, Gods of War, Excitable, Love and Affection. They were singles. I don't love them as much as I used to. I think they're the low points.
Mm.
I completely agree. I do like Women. Rocket has aged horribly for me, but I would have picked others. I would have picked Gods of War and shit. I don't think I would have made those two songs singles. So I see what you're saying. Totally.
Gods of
And
War
I
should have been a single. That's
Oh,
one of the best
yeah.
songs on the album. I
I
absolutely
love that
that
song.
forgot
Love
Don't
that.
Shoot Shotgun. Don't Shoot Shotgun probably could have been a single, as could have Love and Affection. I think
All
Gods
of
of
them.
War Gods
All
of
of
War
them.
Gods of War is probably like almost my favorite song on the album besides Animal, which stands alone. But I think Don't Shoot Shotgun and Love and Affection were probably the other two wise choices if you were to replace Rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because you said that. And those two, and I'm like, no, I love those two songs. And then I look at the track list and I'm like, okay, well, I love them, but I actually love everything else better. So, I
I
mean,
know.
that just says how good of an album it is. But, I wasn't thinking I was going to agree, but, I think I am gonna agree. Don't Shoot Shotgun is not one of my favorites as well, even though I love it. So I'm just picking,
Yeah.
just nitpicking here because I love every song. But yeah, I think you're right. And that's kind of tough then that the album starts off with that.
Yeah, and I think Gods of War might have just gone like this a little bit at the time because it wasn't a Stairway to Heaven. It wasn't a Still of the Night. It's an epic for the album, and it's an epic to us. It's more mature. But I think Def Leppard was so in like every teenager loved them at that point. I think it might have gone over their heads, whereas Love and Affection, or if you think about the chorus of Don't Shoot Shotgun, that would have been like every teenager's dream single at the time. So
Yeah.
Go-
Yeah, no,
Gods of
I think you're right.
Gods of War should have been on Adrenalize because after in 90 and 91, shit, what we had Bosnia, we had the first Gulf War. So, shit, I remember in 91, I think rock bands were doing shit, there was like one of those fucking We Are the People, We Are the World songs, and
Yeah.
Jane Lane was even on one of them. But Gods of War would have made more sense on
Yeah.
Internalized. People would have been like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we're kind of going through this now."
Yeah, it would have
Right.
fit in with songs like Wind of Change and Civil
Yes.
War and some of those
Yeah.
other ones that were big and kind of fit in with that. And looking on it now, we love it. Maybe it's just the wrong time. That is a song though, I think that the Drastic Symphonies made even a little bit better though, because there's just that at the very end. And it was cool.
Sure.
See, way ahead of its time.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, I think for Mariah, I'm gonna have you do your number one, so then I can just finish it off at the end. So
Yeah.
can we get your number one?
Yeah. Kind of alluded to some of this earlier. I don't think Pyromania and Hysteria have a bad song between them. I think they're great albums, two of the biggest ones of the 80s. And I probably could even add High and Dry in there. Maybe there's a song, I think No 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 is on there. That's kind of a weird one, but like they don't have a bad song between them, there's not a song where I go, I don't like this and I'm skipping it if it comes on. I don't think there's anything if I'm skipping. And I have favorites, but everyone does. But I don't think there's a bad song between the two of them.
How would you rank the singles off of Pyromania? Where would you put them?
Remind me what they were. What were the singles off of that one?
Photograph, Rock of Ages, Foolin', Too Late for Love.
Was there 5 or was there 4?
Must be missing one, right? Oh, no. They re-released Bringing on a Heartbreak, but I thought there was another.
Photograph, Too Late for Love, Foolin', Rock of Ages, Rock Till You Drop.
Well, that's killer, and so is Stage Fright.
Okay. Wikipedia
I love
says
Stage Fright.
4. Wikipedia says Photograph, Rock of Ages, Foolin', and Too Late for Love.
Got it.
Right. Well, probably in that order. Photograph and Rock of Ages are kind of tied for me. It really depends on the day. They're both two of my favorite Def Leppard songs, always in my top 5. You ask me on the day, I will say either one of those. And then probably Foolin', then Too Late for Love, but I love all four. It's such a razor thin margin between the two of them, but I always battle between Photograph or Rock of Ages being the best one, and Stage Fright's third on that album for me, and that's not a single, but
Yeah, great songs.
yeah.
Okay.
How about you guys? How do you rank them?
Photograph and Rock of Ages are shit. I could go back and forth. I definitely go Too Late for Love over Foolin'. And I think shit, let me get a look at the song. I mean, there's so many other things. I think Coming Under Fire could have been a single. I think Action Not Words
Yes.
is amazing. I love Stage Fright. Yeah, that could have been a 7 or 8 single album instead of 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the beginning of Stage Fright, the Welcome to My Show.
Yes.
That's great.
Oh, yeah. Gets you going like a fucking mother son of a bitch.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I was torn for my number one. And excuse me, fucking. So at first, I was kind of going on Mariah's route. And I was going to talk about how I think that Pyromania is one of the greatest all killer, no filler albums of all time. So, but I decided not to go that Pyromania route because this is the biggest question that I have over the history of Def Leppard. And I think I ponder this question more than anybody should ponder fucking Def Leppard. It keeps me awake at night. And the question is this: is Def Leppard that great of a band, or are they a Mutt Lange creation? So, the first album is decent. Okay, obviously they're a great band. They are. Okay? But I think that they're fucking what's the second album called?
High and Dry.
I think High and Dry, Pyromania, and Hysteria are so fucking amazing. By far, their best 3 albums were the ones that Mutt produced. And we know that everything Mutt touched in the 80s and early 90s went to the stratosphere. Foreigner, Bryan Adams, AC/DC, Def Leppard. And most of those bands, like, yes, did great stuff, but the stuff they did with Mutt was astronomical, head and heels above what they did before. So I just I think it has to be asked, like, is Def Leppard just a really good band that hooked up with the fucking genius of the time who made these songs so inescapable, so obviously hits. So I just want I and a part of me is like, they probably were. And is that a bad thing? No. It's not a bad thing to say. Hey, some bands got hooked up with guys who took their songs and made very good songs extraordinary. And maybe that's what happened with Def Leppard. And I'm dying to hear if you guys are like, fuck you, you asshole. That's a horrible thing to say. Or if you're like, hey, maybe you're onto something here.
Well, I feel like there's an element of both. I mean, look at the AC/DC example. Look at how he made Bon Scott sound. Bon sounded way different on Highway to Hell than he did on the previous albums. You knew it was Bon, obviously, and he sounds fucking killer, but he sounded different. He brings something out in those vocalists, especially. Also, Mutt's background. Anytime you hear a song, Def Leppard's big choruses, Bryan Adams, the Starship songs, Shania Twain, some Cars shit, obviously Foreigner. You have that high Mutt backup vocals, and he's got a great voice.
Yep.
Between that, the chords he chooses, I feel like it's the exact ear-pleasing recipe that he knew that the world would like. So I feel like it's a bit of both, not to mention, Def Leppard could have very well been like a Duran Duran at the time with the cute fellas and the cute hair and the blah, 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 like it helped for sure. He kind of picked and choose. So I think there was a little bit of both with Def Leppard, and he was pretty intrigued by the talent level of Phil, and he was really bringing out the vocals in Joe Elliott.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say something similar. I would say that there could be a little bit of both. It's entirely a creation might be a bit harsh.
Right.
Because there's the talent, because a lot of the stuff already existed. I just think it's like a business partner. He was the best business partner, He brought the best out of them and was just the best guy they could have worked with, just like, Elton John with Bernie Taupin or Desmond Child with Bon Jovi. It's just took it from good to great because it was a good business partner and it's the best business decision they could have made. And yeah, I just think, and maybe that does fall under creation. I don't know, but it was the best business partner they could have gone with because he got the best out of them. But they played a part in that too.
And yeah, a part. I feel like that kind of makes Def Leppard sound bad because most bands weren't producing their own albums. Most bands were writing songs, and a producer's job is to go, okay, I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to turn what you did into something fucking magical. That's what producers are supposed to do. So when I say that, it kind of makes it seem like, oh, well, fucking Def Leppard, we're worse than most bands. And they got this big helping hand. Almost every band needed, most bands weren't writing all the songs and then producing them.
Yeah, so they're young. That's not their specialty.
Yes.
You know what? Like, look, to the credit of Def Leppard, though, watch the Hysteria behind the scenes, the making of Hysteria. And Joe and Phil are sitting at this huge old soundboard, and they're listening to the early recordings of Animal from 1985, and they all had these different tape recorders, and all of the pieces of the song were there. And this was long before Mutt got in the mix.
Yep.
So to Def Leppard's credit, They basically had the bones of, they had the song written.
Yep.
You know, Mutt came in and did this and that to it. But I mean, I could say that in 85, they already had a monster hit in Animal ready to go. They just needed that touch at the end. So,
Yeah, they
hey,
just needed that really good to great kind of a thing.
And you're right. Like a producer can only fix what he has to work with, and obviously Def Leppard gave him great shit to work with.
totally.
You know, they had great songs that with his tweaking became fucking diamond selling albums. And Charlie,
Yeah, and they were
So cute.
probably a huge boost of confidence too, because you know, like when he came back into the fold, they were like, "Oh yes, we can finally get this album going," and they scrapped everything and started over, basically.
do you know who was originally going to produce, and a big name who was going to produce Hysteria before Mutt came back in because Mutt wasn't going to do it. He had other projects to do. Do you know who started it?
I know they didn't
Often
like
the-
a few of the guys, but I don't remember the name.
Well, and maybe there was more. I just know that at some point, Jim Steinman,
Yeah, that's the guy.
Meatloaf fame, was going to produce it. And
Yeah, that's
I
the guy that
remember
did it.
I remember like reading an interview with Joe Elliott, and he talked about how it was a fucking disaster. He was like, "Yeah, Jim Steinman's going, okay, yeah, we're tuning our instruments and playing the songs, and they get done, and Jim Steinman's like, all right, I think we got it." And they're like, we weren't playing the song to be recorded. We're just tuning our instruments. Like
Yeah.
no, we don't have it. Like there needs a lot of shit. And anyway, so I mean, it's interesting the shit that goes on behind the scenes before an album ends up in our hands, you know?
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
was
Well, until
that
they
guy?
switched, because he didn't seem interested enough.
Was he a producer or was he in the band of the Meatloaf's band?
He was a songwriter and he
Uh,
actually put out a couple albums on his own, but mainly he wrote the songs and he needed somebody else to like put. So even in Meatloaf, he did tour with Meatloaf and played the keyboards. But the guy, like, he wrote Total Eclipse of the Heart by Bonnie Tyler. The guy wrote
Mhm.
amazing songs and
mm,
shit. But I don't know that he was like obviously he must have tried producing. He probably produced some albums. I don't know if
yeah,
he had any major successes, but he's known for his songwriting ability.
yeah,
Because none of his solo albums, and he put out a couple, ever did shit.
I
No.
see.
So, all right. That brings us to the end of 10 things I think about Def Leppard. We would love to see you in the comments telling us, well, first, your opinions on the shit that we said, and what stuff did we miss? What opinions do you have about Def Leppard that, you think people should be considering when you talk about the career of one of the biggest bands in 80s rock and hair metal and heavy metal and hard rock history? With that, Ryan, thanks for being on and talking about one of your favorite bands of all time.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. And go check out Metalcast and the shit that Metal Mike from the 80s Glam Metalcast is putting out on YouTube. Very great songs with the 80s hard rock feel. It's epic shit. Mariah, thanks for being on to talk about Def Leppard.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. This was awesome. Great band. Love them. It's always great to talk about them.
Awesome. Hey, appreciate you guys being in here. Follow Mariah, follow myself on X. Go check out Metalcast and leave your comments, like, subscribe. What the hell? Ring the bell. Whatever you can do to support the channel. I just appreciate you being here. Until the next video comes out, my name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. Take care of yourselves.